Hello, and it's a beautiful Wednesday. Time to wake up and get ready for a wonderful experience on our special midweek edition of the show.
Now, knowing that, I wanted to tell you welcome to the show.
Oh, welcome. Welcome. Me?
Yeah, for the first time this week.
Yeah, it's nice to start work on a Wednesday. Are you sure we can't make this arrangement a little more permanent?
Yeah.
Yeah, the producers will just shock me next week.
I don't think so.
Well, you being there is great every day of the week.
Yeah, of course. We love it that you're joining us as early as this time. For those of you, we have some diehard fans that stick around at 6 a.m. So we know that you're there to enjoy whatever we have for you. It gives us more reason to be here, leave our beds, and bring something very special every single day of the week.
Bright and early every single day we are here, and that's why today's show has been carefully planned out, and every second was curated with the thoughts of you. Thank you so much for joining us. Now we have 2 hours 45 minutes to go, and we don't want you to miss a thing.
Yeah, as things improve with the lockdown and with the curfew and things get into full swing in different parts of the country, let us remember, follow all health guidelines on the fight against COVID-19, or the coronavirus as it's popularly called. My name is Yomi Ope.
And I'm Titi Layo. So please stream the show live if you have to move around. tvcentertainment.tv and on Facebook at TVC Connect.
Send in your comments using the hashtag WakeUpNigeria on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook this morning.
So without a doubt, we always look forward to this part. We have a daily dose of daily vulnerables from Chude Judonwo, starting us off.
There are some of you that haven't gone to visit your mother, your father in a long time.
And it's possible to stay safe at home and save some cash. MM is going to be showing us how we can make our own face shields on life hacks.
Can be used in protecting yourself this period.
Your own face shields, I like that. As usual, we have a chef who's going to be sharing a recipe with us, something special. Chef V is in the building once again.
Now, have you ever thought of owning a pet dove? Now, I was at Posh Paws Giants Veterinary Clinic, and we'll be finding out loads more about what a pet dove entails if you want to get one.
Looking forward to it. And also joining us on the show this morning is teacher, trainer, and educator Toju Oluwatoyinbo. Now, she's going to be talking to us about the effect of children on the marriage.
That's a big one. Very big one. Now, you need to stick around till the end of the show. We'll be joined by a very special guest. You do not want to miss this one. Okay, it's great to be back.
So Wednesday, it's great to be back. And
so, an eventful week, though.
Yeah, it's been eventful. So the lockdown has been eased gradually. Now the curfews are from 10 p.m. to 4 a.m.
Yeah.
So people can move around more effectively. You can plan better instead of hurrying and trying to beat 8 p.m. traffic and all of that.
So I actually got stuck somewhere sometime last week. And it was because I couldn't get one of those, the cab apps had just gone silent. And I was like, oh my God.
None of them would have wanted to be stuck.
And this was around 5:30, almost 6 o'clock. And I was surprised because, usually, because everybody knows that it's going to end by 8. But I guess maybe they were all engaged, but there were just no new cabs.
Yeah.
Like, what am I going to do? But the fact that people took it seriously eventually, I hope people take the 10 p.m. Seriously as well.
Oh no, they will. They certainly will. One of the reasons why that is going to be effective is also because clubs are not open, restaurants are not open, so all these places where people would normally have stayed for a long period of time, so 11 or midnight, it's so it makes it easier for people to just get by.
Okay.
And
so that means the recreational, the fun places.
Yeah, they're still shut down.
Yeah, they're still shut
down. Yeah.
But work And getting back from work shouldn't be as tedious. Well,
no, it shouldn't.
You never know.
It shouldn't.
The traffic.
It shouldn't be.
Because I know
it shouldn't be. I mean, 10 p.m. is pretty. It's quite late, even for Lagos. It's quite late. It's quite late. But yeah, let's see what's happening with the news.
Yeah, we need to. And the news update starts like this. President Muhammadu Buhari says Nigeria will stand solidly behind Dr. Akinwumi Adesina in his bid to get re-elected as president of the African Development Bank. The president spoke at State House Abuja while hosting Dr. Adesina on a courtesy visit. In the statement signed by Presidential Aide on Media and Publicity, Femi Adesina states that the president pledged that Nigeria would work with other leaders and stakeholders in AFDB to ensure that Dr. Adesina was elected for a second term. The African Union had already endorsed the incumbent AFDB president as sole candidate for the continent. But some other stakeholders are trying to ensure that Dr. Adesina is re-investigated on some allegations and rendered eligible to run. Dr. Adesina, a former Nigerian Minister for Agriculture, said the 16 allegations raised against him were trumped up. He added that the Ethics Committee of the bank cleared him of all allegations. Wife of the governor of Edo State, Betsy Obaseki, has condoled with the family of late Uwalia Omozua, who was allegedly raped and killed in a church at the Ikpoba Hill area of Benin City. Mrs. Obaseki visited the family in company of the wife of the Deputy Governor, Marianne Shuaibi, Edo State Commissioner for Social Development and Gender, Maria Edeko, and other state officials. Walia's father, Mr. Joseph Omozua, narrated all his efforts to keep her alive after she was discovered unconscious, adding that she was a well-behaved girl who had kept her virginity past 22 years old. He said that tears kept pouring from her eyes while she was in a coma for 4 days until she died. The wife of the governor encouraged him to take solace in the fact that Uwalia is now in a better place.
Her death has brought about light in Edo State, light in Nigeria. Do you understand? They quenched, sniffed life from her, brought darkness upon her life by taking her life away, but that life, God has turned it into light to begin to shine in Edo State and in Nigeria at this time.
Meanwhile, the Inspector General of Police, Mohammed Adamu, has ordered the immediate transfer of the ongoing investigations into the inhuman sexual assault and death of Vera Uwalia Omozua from the State Police Headquarters, Benin, to the Force Headquarters, Abuja. According to a statement by Force Public Relations Officer Frank Mba, the IGP's directive is sequel to the preliminary report from the team of investigators and forensic experts deployed to assist the Edo State Police Command in the investigations. The IGP also ordered the immediate deployment of specialized investigators and additional investigation assets to all the gender desks, offices, and the juvenile welfare centers across the country. In Lagos, if you are thinking of worship at a church or mosques this weekend, you'll have to drop the idea. This is because the government has ruled out the immediate reopening of worship centers in the state. Speaking on behalf of the government, Commissioner for Home Affairs, Prince Anofiu Elegushi, says with the consciousness of the state being the epicenter of the coronavirus pandemic, it cannot reopen worship centers until there is a clear coast for the state to do so.
You know, looking at the possibility of reopening the religious houses. We had one also with the leaders of the two faiths. I want to tell you categorically that at that meeting, the possibility of reopening the religious house was ruled out totally. That they cannot take such responsibility of ensuring that only 20 or 50 people, you know, are praying behind them. Like an imam now, The mom said, I don't know what is going on at my back. Immediately, I'm leading a prayer. So if more than 20 people or 50 people are staying at my back, who is going to take the responsibility? So they ruled out totality the issue of reopening the religious house until we have a clear coast for us to do so.
Nigeria may be heading for a recession this year as indications with a deficit financing of its revised 10.509 trillion naira 2020 budget rises to 4.563 trillion naira from 1.847 trillion earlier projected. In separate presentations made by the heads of revenue generating agencies led by the Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed, before Senate Committee on Finance, earlier targeted revenues from all the relevant agencies have been drastically slashed in the new proposals. Besides, 77% of the newly proposed revenues from the various sources, like the National Petroleum Corporation, Federal Inland Revenue Service, Nigerian Customs Service, is for debt service. The minister, in her response to a question on the likelihood of recession, said the global economy is predicted to be slipping into recession. What Nigeria can do is to minimize the extent of the looming recession. And that's all we can take on the news headlines for this hour. We'll be taking them again in the second hour, but up next we have sports. I'm here with the papers, and I have quite a few headlines that you might take interest in. Let's start with the Punch, shall we? Revised budget. Federal government gives National Assembly 27 billion naira for renovation. Cuts health. UBE votes. Government slashes primary healthcare centers fund from 44.4 billion naira to 25.5 billion naira. UBE, that's 111.7 billion naira to 51.1 billion naira. Federal legislatures raise oil benchmark to $28, reduce output. Excess crude account illegal, say reps. At the bottom of the page here, it says Obaseki, Pima, and others mourn Majek Fashek. 24 female victims accused student of rape on Twitter. Uniben student suspect arrested as IG orders case transfer. At the top of the page, it says National Assembly approves Buhari's $5.5 billion budget loan, a $22.7 billion facility. It says, we can't reopen churches, mosques now, Lagos, Ogun, Oyo, Ikiti say. And I'll wrap with this. FIRS stops scores recruited by Fowler from resuming. That's what we have on the cover of the Punch. Then we also have the Nation newspaper here. And the Nation newspaper starts with this headline. It says, government, if you are 55 and above, avoid mosques, churches. PTF issues advisory to states on return of services, prayers. Worship centers stay shut, say Lagos, Oyo, Kwara, Kaduna. Due to the nature of religious congregations, places of worship are particularly recognized to have a major potential for spreading COVID-19 infection. At the top of the page there, it says, why Kalu remains in prison, service awaits order. IG takes over probe of Uniben students killing. Dad battled to save her, it says. So long, reggae icon Majek Fashek. Tributes reign in for Star. Now, at the bottom of the page there, it says, Buhari to work with others for Adesina's re-election. AFDB president says, my clearance by ethics panel in line with rules. Now, just to check out the chart here on the COVID-19 global cases, it says here so far 6,444,495 cases have been recorded of COVID-19. Meanwhile, so far, total number of deaths globally total 380,517. In Nigeria, the cases recorded number 10,578 cases, and the deaths so far number 299. That's how I'll wrap it up on the cover of The Nation. Now I'm going to move to the Guardian newspaper here, and the Guardian newspaper has this headline. It says, Lagos, Osun, Kwara retain ban on religious centers. Task force issues more guidelines, encourages worship at home. 812 healthcare workers infected with COVID-19, says NCDC. Just under the masthead here, it says, Senate okays federal government's $5.5 billion loan request. Reps urge recruitment of 100,000 soldiers to tackle insecurity. PDP wants government to fix fuel price at 70 naira. Senate confirms 37 FCC nominees despite Abaribe's objection. And right at the bottom of the page here, it says, why government's move against memo leakage may fail by experts. Officials must state why certain info can't be made public. That's what we have on the cover of The Guardian. Now let's see if we can take the Nigerian Tribune. Always a lot of headlines on the Nigerian Tribune. It says here, churches, mosques may remain shut in Lagos. Oyo yet to relax ban on religious activities. 8 p.m. till 5 a.m. curfew still remains. That's in Oyo State. Why mosques shouldn't be open now, according to Gumi. Churches, mosque services to last 1 hour, say PTF. 1 hour, wow. Sorry, I just had to pause on that one. Church services on 1 hour. And I'll wrap with this. Justice for Uwa, hashtag, the fish out Uniben students killers, Buhari tells police. And that's how we'll wrap it up on the headlines and the dailies for this hour. I'm going to be taking a quick break, and we'll be back with more. Stay close.
Hold on to your family, oh. Hold on to your family. There are some of you that haven't gone to visit your mother, your father in a long time. You haven't called your sisters, your brothers in a long time. Okay. You have a family WhatsApp group. When they are sharing videos or photos, all of that, you are too cool for that because you want to be, you want to blow. Let me tell you something. When that person breaks your heart, when that contract finishes, when those your cool friends move on with their lives, when that celebrity, stops being a celebrity, when those your followers stop liking your photos because, you are no longer the person that they thought you were, when everything collapses, the only people that will stand for you are your family. Many of us go through life looking for the approval of so many other people that we don't appreciate the families and the love that we have. I'm not saying this as some sort of moral duty. I'm talking about your own well-being. Stop taking your family for granted. Stop taking your family for granted. Plan with your family for Mother's Day. Plan with your family for Christmas. Plan with your family for your birthday. Plan with your family for their birthdays. But while you are busy pursuing the approval and love of others, remind yourself that when push comes to shove, there is no love like the love of your father, your mother, your brothers, your sisters, and those you have chosen to marry.
Very nice. Yeah. I like that talk about family. We're going to talk about something else, but family is very important because, look, if anybody knows you, it's your family.
Of course.
And these are the guys that when all is said and done, after there's been a shaking, after the earthquake, after everything,
they're the ones you end up coming back to.
You get, no matter what you've been accused accused of, even if you've been in jail for like 20 years, when you come out and everybody has abandoned you, guess who's going to be there?
Yeah, family. Who should be there? I'll use the word should.
No, they will be there. Don't worry. See, family,
Well,
even if they say, you know what, this guy is a killer, or he stole money, whatever it is, your family will be there. They will just tell you.
I say should because there are definitely some people that have family that they have people that act more like family than their actual family. You know, there's a reason why I'm saying that, because, you know, there's some things you rely on people for, some support you rely on people for, and then you just discover you don't get it from those people. And then it does become friends who have become like blood that end up being there. But you still end up calling them family in the end. So it still does, it does remain a family thing. But there's also that issue of you not being able to choose your own family. So the same way family are always there means that they're there with all their cultures, traditions, habits, good and bad, you know, religious views, etc., etc. And there's not much you can do about that. That's what
very true, very true. I mean, so it's also one of the reasons why you have a situation where a lot of people get estranged with their family, because maybe when you grow a little bit older, you then discover that, okay, you know what, their values don't really align with mine. Or I don't want to be a part of this. You know how maybe you guys were growing up in a certain church, and then when you become a teenager, you feel like you're too cool for the church. Maybe like all these white garment churches, or you guys don't wear shoes and things like that. And suddenly you don't want to be a part of it. You don't want to be seen on the street with your family because, you know, it's no longer cool. You know, so I do agree with you that sometimes people want to move away from whatever traditions that they came up with. But later on, at the end of the day, what you then discover is that as you grow older, you discover that this is your foundation, this is your base.
That's where you started from.
And whatever happens, you know how they say, Agaracha must come home.
Yes.
Like, at the end of the day,
the prodigal sons must return.
You know, no matter where you go, man, anywhere in the world, you know, you're gonna come back home and meet your family.
So then this is where I would say create a place for your kids to come back home to. I'm saying create a foundation, a solid foundation, a welcoming place for your family to come back to. You know, because there will be a time where these young people will stray and then they will come back, and then the response they get when they get to the door, are you gonna be with open arms? Or are you going to be like...
No, it depends on where they're coming from. You know, there are certain people that, okay, after all is said and done, you know, okay, maybe somebody knows that their son is an armed robber or something like that, or like some kind of criminal. Eventually, your mother is going to...
Calm down.
It's not even about calming down. If you go home, your mother will tell you, come and stay here. You understand what I'm saying? Because she's your mother, and she's not gonna give you up to the police or whatever it is like that. Because at the end of the day, whatever happens to you, no matter how bad it is, you know, you're gonna bring tears to the eyes of family members, because, you know, you grew up with them, they saw you grow up. And they're also going to be asking themselves, where did we go wrong? Did we raise this boy wrong? You know, what happened? And then, you know, so if something happens to the person and he dies, you will always carry that regret and that guilt with you, thinking that maybe I could have done things differently.
Speaking of regret and raising these children, you know, the right way. Now, there is a particular young man that's being accused in a particular school about raping a certain number of, there's so many allegations out there, you don't even know which is true or not. You know, there's all these cases of sexual abuse, domestic abuse, all this, and I always pinpoint how those people were raised. And you just mentioned something. Now, what was it you said just now about, you said something about, oh goodness me, it just skipped my mind. But where I'm going basically is that the place you created, the home you created around this child, around this person you're raising, you have to realize that you're not raising them for yourself. You're raising them to be taken out there into the world to represent you.
And to be normal people in society.
Exactly. So you need to really be careful the kinds of things you share, things you say, things you tell these children. If you keep saying negative things to these kids, eventually some of these things might just come to pass. It's like implanting negative thoughts in someone and thinking that they're going to come out like sunshine and and roses.
Yeah.
It's probably
no,
not
no, I
gonna
totally
happen.
agree with you. I mean, nobody wants a situation where your child is accused of something. You're finding out on the news, is that my son or is that my daughter? You know, and it goes both ways. You know, sometimes you're watching TV or maybe you're on social media and then you see your sister or someone that you're related to being accused of something. So it could be a lady that may be accused of nudity or there's a sex tape out. Remember the sex tape issue with the young girl at the universities. Imagine her parents discovering that. It's a pain. So sometimes it's not even really the parents' fault. You know, a lot of times parents are asking themselves, oh, but we raised this girl well. What happened in this particular area? The same thing with boys as well. So maybe it's a Christian family or a strong Muslim family, and they've been raising them, or they feel like they've been raising the boy up in a certain way. And then suddenly you're hearing stories about the kid outside. You're like, what? How is this my son? It's unbelievable. You're like, did you actually do, like, you don't believe it until you actually sit your son down and you ask him, did you actually do this? And then you stand, oh, daddy, this is what happened. Actually, you know, that kind of a thing. So a lot of times there's a disconnect.
Of course.
And it's until something like this happens, you now discover that, oh, wow, I wasn't talking to my child.
So I wanted to talk on the Black Lives Matter and Blackout Tuesday that happened yesterday. That's one of the reasons why. It's one of the reasons why I wore black today.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Because so if you go onto the hashtag Blackout Tuesday on Instagram, you'll literally see black pages, and obviously it's like a silent protest. And not so silent anymore. Social media is not so silent, but a protest against so many things. And it's like people are beginning to realize that they need to talk about so many things, so many issues. And the more we keep talking about it, the more we keep enlightening people about it, hopefully it'll be getting to the right ears and we can find a solution to make sure that things like this don't happen again. Honestly, it's my first time back after all the events of the weekend happen. And, you know, there are a lot of families that are emotional about this. Let's try and find solutions. Let's keep, you know, talking to each other about it and making sure that we try and connect with our families in the best way possible.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
We're going to be taking a quick break and be back with more on the show. I think birthday shout-outs is next.
Now, an exciting 1 hour just went by with a flash. Now we have another fun-filled 1 hour, 45 minutes to go. It's about to kick off.
Yes, indeed. You know, went by with a flash is a good way to put it. Anyway, welcome to the second hour of this awesome television experience. There's still so much more to come on the show, so stick around.
We've been, you know, having to catch up with so many different things that have been happening throughout the week. And there's still going to be quite a lot of things, so you need to keep up as things are improving out there, you know?
Yeah, as things get into full swing around the country, remember to follow all the health guidelines in this fight against the coronavirus, social distancing.
Yes, indeed.
Now, washing hands is a culture. You know, you walk into the hands, you just discover that you're gravitating towards the bathroom to wash your hands. That's the good thing. That's a good thing. Anyway, my name is Yomi Hope.
And I'm Titilaya Onyison. Please stream the show live if you have to move around. tvcentertainment.tv and on Facebook at TVC Connect.
Yeah, we also have this app that's available. It's been available for over a year now, both on the iOS stores and the Android stores. Just search TVC Connect, click, and you are live.
Yes, indeed. From anywhere in the world. And now, if you would like to stay safe and save some cash, we have bringing us how to make a face shield. A little DIY session there for you, and I can't wait to see it.
These two cities.
And we still have our chef in the building. It's a regular now on the show. And Chef V is going to be doing one of those his things.
What? It's going to be cooking. That's what a chef does.
One of those things. I don't know if you saw the last one he did.
Very creative about it.
Yeah.
Now we have a pet package from Posh Paws Giants Veterinary Clinic. Now I was there trying to find out more about pet doves. Yes, have you ever thought of having a bird as a pet?
All I can see, that's colorful t-shirt.
What, is it too colorful though?
That's all I can see right
Really?
now.
I love that t-shirt.
No doves there.
I love it. Now, on relationships,
yeah.
okay.
We have teacher, trainer, and educator Toju Oluwatoyinbo, who's going to be joining us to talk about the effect of children on the marriage. Nobody ever talks about that.
Yeah.
Everybody says, oh, children are a blessing from the Lord.
Yeah, and they are. Nobody's saying they're not. But they
Yeah.
can also be a lot of other things.
Let's find out more with Mrs. Oluwatoyinbo today.
And finally, we'll be joined by singer and painter Nisi Ogulu for a very interesting conversation. Yeah, so, you know, I know it's been talked about likely yesterday while I wasn't here, but, you know, the world lost Majek Fashek.
Oh, Majek Fashek. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It was on the. They talked about it on the morning show.
Yes, of
and
course.
they also talked about it during the afternoon E-Splash show as well. Because he's been on E-Splash, I think twice. He's been on E-Splash twice, and you know, so it was great memories for them as well because they put up pictures.
So it's so interesting. You know, I saw a video clip of him on David Letterman. Now, David Letterman is a talk show host from the US. Well, he still does a talk show online, but this was when David Letterman was really young. And I saw him in his element, really dressed up in cultural dress with his whole full band. If you get to go online and try and search for that video, you could see the youthful Majek Fashek in his element performing on stage. And as soon as the news broke in the morning, the most heavy downpour of rain that we've had just started. And, you know, it was just like a way of saying the Rainmaker has
Yeah, they used to call him that, the Rainmaker.
The Rainmaker. Send down the rain.
Yeah, there were, I don't know, it was a phenomenon at the time when the song was really popular.
Yeah.
That if you were playing the song too loud, that
rain would fall.
That rain would fall. I mean, obviously that didn't happen.
Well, you never know. There are some people that used to just play it when it's already started to rain. There's
actually nothing as a rainmaker. Like, people always say that. That, okay, somebody's a rainmaker, like a medicine man. They just used to use that to cheat people. Like, if I told you I was a rainmaker now, and I could make it rain for some farmers, they'd bring me money.
Okay.
So that's the whole idea. And then I'll just go and pray to God that, God, you know, I've collected these people's money. So
okay. I like your angle. I like your angle. But there is something about, you know, wishing for something, hoping for rain.
And for it to happen.
And singing about it.
Yeah.
You know, send down the rain. Like, it was such a great song.
It's a beautiful song. I love it.
Song.
Love it, yeah.
And we should play that song one of these days.
R.I.P. to Majek Fashek as we take the news now.
All right, Yomi, it looks like you want to learn how to make the rain. I can take you to one Baba, you know, down the street there.
I think it's only God that can do that.
Yeah, only God does that too.
President Muhammad Buhari says Nigeria will stand solidly behind Dr. Akinwumi Adesina in his bid to get re-elected as president of the African Development Bank. The president spoke at State House, Abuja, while hosting Dr. Adesina on a courtesy visit. In a statement signed by Presidential Aide on Media and Publicity, Femi Adesina states that the president pledged that Nigeria would work with other leaders and stakeholders in AFDB to ensure that Dr. Adesina was elected for a second term. The African Union has already endorsed the incumbent AFDB president as sole candidate for the continent, but some other stakeholders are trying to ensure that Dr. Adesina is reinvestigated on some allegations and rendered ineligible to run. Dr. Adesina, a former Nigerian Minister for Agriculture, said that the 16 allegations raised against him were trumped up. He added that the Ethics Committee of the bank cleared him of all the allegations. Meanwhile, the Inspector General of Police, Mohammed Adamu, has ordered the immediate transfer of the ongoing investigation into the inhuman sexual assault and death of Vera Waila Omosua from the police state headquarters, Benin, to the force headquarters, Abuja. According to a statement by Force Public Relations Officer Frank Mba, the IGP's directive is sequel to the preliminary report from the team of investigators and forensic experts deployed to assist the Edo State Police Command in the investigations. The IGP also ordered the immediate deployment of specialized investigators and additional investigation assets to all the gender desks, offices, and the juvenile welfare centers across the country. In Lagos, if you're thinking of worshiping at a church or mosque this weekend, you will have to drop the idea. This is because the government has ruled out the immediate reopening of worship centers in the state. Speaking on behalf of the government, Commissioner for Home Affairs, Prince Anofiu Elegushi, says with the consciousness of the state being the epicenter of the coronavirus pandemic, it cannot reopen worship centers until there is a clear coast for the state to do so. Nigeria may be heading for a recession this year as indications with a deficit financing of its revised 10.509 trillion naira 2020 budget rises to 4.563 trillion naira from 1.847 trillion naira earlier projected. In separate presentations made by the head of the revenue-generating agencies led by the Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed, before Senate Committee on Finance, earlier targeted revenues from all the relevant agencies have been drastically slashed in the new proposals. Besides, 77% of the newly proposed revenues from the various sources like the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, Federal Inland Revenue Service, Nigerian Customs Service is for debt servicing. The minister, in a response to a question on the likelihood of recession, said the global economy is predicted to be slipping into recession. What Nigeria can do is to minimize the extent of the looming recession. And outside Nigeria, as protest over the killing of George Floyd continues, the Minnesota Department of Human Rights says it will launch an investigation into the Minneapolis Police Department. This follows the filing of a civil rights charge related to the death of Mr. Floyd, the unarmed black man who died in police custody last week. The probe announced by Governor Tim Walz will look at Minneapolis police policies and procedures over the past 10 years to determine whether the department has engaged in discriminatory practices toward people of color. Human Rights Commissioner Rebecca Lucero will lead the investigation. The move is the first time the Human Rights Department has launched a systemic investigation into the largest police department in the state. The state is also seeking an agreement with the city's police department to implement immediate measures to address systemic issues of racial discrimination. Nigeria has recorded a spike in cases of domestic violence since a lockdown imposed on cities to curb the spread of coronavirus. This is because the restrictions forced vulnerable persons to stay more with their attackers. In Lagos alone, there was a 60% increase in domestic violence, according to the state's domestic and gender violence response team during the peak of the lockdown. And as a news update for this.
Hi guys, how are you doing? And how are you protecting yourself this period? Whether you're using a face mask or a face shield, the CDC has recommended that these two safety tools can be used in protecting yourself this period. And with just 200 naira, baby, or even less, you can make your own face shield. And that's what I'll be teaching you to make today. All you need, or the materials you need, are your acetate paper, 1, an elastic band that costs 50 naira, an Ankara fabric or any kind of fabric at all, a pair of scissors, marker, and super glue. Now let's get to it. I already have one here just to, show you how, what it looks like. All right, so let's get right into it quickly. Okay, so first I have my acetate paper here. I am going to work with my stay. So what stay basically does is to help balance out whatever fabric you're using. I'm going to take my stay and layer it on nicely on my Ankara fabric. So I'm just going to fold this in and tuck my Ankara in nicely. Now I'm going to use my super glue to hold it together firmly. You could also use a needle and thread. It depends on how you want to. Whether you're using a needle and thread or super glue, you're still going to achieve the same result anyway, so just layer it on nicely and neatly. So this is what we are going to glue on to my acetate paper next. So what I'm gonna do next is, with my pair of scissors, I'm just going to cut out any rough ends. So next I am going to use my glue on the acetate paper. Make sure you use it on the ends of the acetate paper. So make sure that is done nicely, and then I'm just going to put my Ankara fabric on it and then smoothing that out nicely till it dries up and my glue is properly layered on the acetate paper. Okay, that looks good. All right, as you can see here. So this is just to add, I'm using an Ankara fabric just to add a bit of style to my face shield. You can use a foam, you can use any sort of fabric, as long as it feels comfortable and it, you know, feels good on your skin. Any fabric at all works. Next stop, we're almost done basically, as you can see here. So next up, I am just going to take off my elastic band. I'll be using this particular elastic band on it. Okay.
Welcome back. Nice one, MM. I like that face shield. I don't know, will it fit on my hair though? I need to try it out. I've not tried out the face shields yet, but very, very interesting stuff. I might try it at home myself. Something else I might be trying is a recipe from Chef V. Now, Chef V is back with another recipe worth trying out in your kitchen. Watch this.
Hot sauce, dark soy sauce. I've got a huge spread here and I'm wondering what's perfect to make right now. Yeah, this is the face of a confused chef. You know, have you ever been in the situation where you walk into the kitchen and you have a large spread of ingredients and then you're wondering, what can I whip up? Well, just like you, I'm in that position right now. Yeah, I have an idea. I've got peanut butter, I've got hot sauce, I've got dark soy sauce, and yeah, let's make chicken peanut butter potato stew. Hi guys, my name is Uncle V and today I'm going to take you on a quick food session. You know, I went to the market today and it's amazing how people can actually be controlled because no one wants to die. Just a few people out there in the market. Sweet potatoes, guys. I've always had love for sweet potatoes. growing up in just Plateau State, I used to eat sweet potatoes raw without actually cooking it. Just cut it and then eat it. These taste really good. So on our ingredient list today, we have diced chicken, crushed tomatoes, diced carrots, onion, finely chopped ginger and garlic, peanut butter, sweet potatoes, blended pepper, sesame oil. So we'll be adding ginger and garlic, and then we're going to keep sauteing it. You want all the juices and the onion and garlic. So add our chicken. We're going to get that brown for a bit. Now the whole idea of this is to get the spices inside the chicken and also cook the chicken with the chicken oil. When this is done, it's going to taste amazing. So we'll be adding our spices now. Our salt, paprika, a bit of curry. Try not to let it burn. Oh my god, the flavor is amazing. All I can imagine is eating this already. So we're going to be cooking this for about 6 to 7 minutes while we continuously stir it because we don't want it to get burned. At this point, we're going to be adding our diced potatoes, crushed tomatoes. Ta-da! So we're going to be adding our carrots now. Some water. So we're going to be adding our peanut butter. Finally, a little drizzle of sesame oil to add some more flavor. Oh my god. After we let it spread, we'll cover the pot and let it simmer. Oh, Jesus Christ. That's some amazing meal right there. So while lockdown season is upon us and everyone is bored, you can quickly follow us. The handle is down below for more recipes like this. And also you can order from at delizia.ng on Instagram. Our numbers are below as well. Stay happy, stay positive. So while we're waiting for this, we're going to chop our lettuce. You don't want to know how much I love lettuce. I think I got that love from my dad. Growing up in Jos and having fresh veggies, lettuce used to be my favorite for salad. Quickly chop that. I can't wait to dive in. I really cannot wait.
Goodness me. That guy's eyes were watering at the end there. Now, hopefully you had a giggle or two from some of those videos. But there's something else I'd like you to see. Now, if you are a pet lover, this one is for you. So I was at Posh Paws Giants Veterinary Clinic in Niger, and we're about to find out about pet doves. Hello and welcome to another pet segment on Wake Up Nigeria. Now, you know we love pets. They've become part of our Wake Up Nigeria family. And we're hoping that we can give you a few tidbits here and there about what to do if you would like to get a pet. So, of course, we're coming to you live once again from Posh Paws Giants Veterinary Clinic in Niger, Lagos. And today we're talking about doves. To talk to us about doves today, we have Warren and Natrina. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And we're going to be talking about doves today. So, Warren, hi.
Welcome.
Now, you need to tell me about these beautiful doves, beautiful birds. They're pure white. We've seen them in the Bible, but what else can you tell me about?
Doves are absolutely unique in every sense of it.
Okay.
As a lot of people know, they use them as the peace symbol. But there's a lot more deeper things to know about doves. Okay. Doves, a lot of people confuse them with pigeons because they think they're the same thing, because they're very similar. It takes someone who's really into them as animals to actually know the difference. Okay. Like, for instance, doves have a shorter tail than pigeons. Okay. So those are the type of things that you can look out for to tell the difference. But doves have a very good history for delivering messages. Okay. So I can give an example with World War I. They were very effective in delivering messages. Yeah. With a 95% successful rate. That's how efficient they are.
So delivering messages from one place to another,
yes.
That was how they were being used. What can you tell me about having doves in my home?
I would say that you have to really research about it. Okay. Like the opportunity now of having someone like me who's well informed about it to speak to you about it. Okay. Not everyone has that opportunity, but these are the type of things that you have to go into before you embark on saying, okay, I'm going to get a dove as a pet. Okay. Because a dove, for example, it has a lifespan of 30 years whilst in captivity. Okay. So when you take it out of captivity and you bring it into urban population and you bring it and want to use it as a pet, the lifespan is like 3 to 4 years. Okay. These are the type of things that you have to be informed about. If not, you're going to be surprised.
All right, Warren, I've always been worried about, having a bird in a cage and then possibly opening that cage, the bird flying out and me never seeing it again. Is this something I should be worried about with a dove?
Domesticated dove. It has the ability when it leaves its home loft in a foreign environment to be able to return back. Okay. It remains a mystery to all of how a dove is able to do that. Okay. So it's not something that you should worry about, unless maybe you're not taking care of the dove properly and the dove wants to run away, then that's a different thing.
All right then. So what about what doves eat?
I would recommend grains, seeds, berries, insects, snails, earthworms. These are the type of foods that doves take. So just like I was saying about the last time, these are the type of things that you have to know before you embark on getting a dove and saying, okay, I'm going to do this. You have to know about this. You have to know about the lifespan when taken out of captivity. You have to know about what it's efficient for, like the high speeds. Okay.
Okay. How fast can they fly?
Well, it's actually been recorded that the fastest a dove has ever flown before is 92.5 miles an hour, which is...
That's almost 100 miles an hour.
Yes.
Wow. All right, so doves, they're not considered birds of prey?
No, they're not considered birds of prey because they are not like eagles. Okay. Where they're predators. If not, they won't be compatible to stay as a pet. Okay. So they're not considered birds.
So they're safe to have around my home. I shouldn't expect any damage from them.
They're safe to have around your home as long as you're well informed about what's required to take care of a dove and to maintain a dove.
All right, Warren. So now I know I'm ready to take home my dove. But I know I need some things in the house first. What sort of things do I need to prepare for my dove?
Well, I would say you need a cage
Yeah.
for the dove. Where's
Yeah.
the dove gonna stay?
Yeah.
You need a bowl,
Okay.
like to put some of the foods that I mentioned previously.
Yeah.
So those are like the main things, I'll say, essentials that you have to have prepared before you get your dove into the house.
All right. Welcome. Now, it's been a fabulous 2 hours so far on our special midweek edition of Wake Up Nigeria. The third hour is about to start. So get ready for nothing but top-notch family entertainment.
Yeah, welcome to the final hour of this premium breakfast show, Wake Up Nigeria. If you just tuned in, welcome.
Yes,
It's
sir.
going to be very special. Now, this next hour or so is going to be loaded with different things that we're doing on the show today.
Across the country, things are gradually coming back to normal, but let's remember to observe the highest level of personal hygiene possible. My name is Titilayo Oyinson.
And I'm Yomi Owokwe. Right now, we're on live at tvcentertainment.tv. We're also on Facebook at TVC Connect.
Yeah, you can also connect with us with your comments, contributions, birthday shout-outs, and all those other messages. We can't wait to hear from you. Use our hashtag WakeUpNigeria on TVC.
All right, coming up shortly, teacher, trainer, and educator Toju Oluwatoyibo will be joining us on relationship to talk about the effect of children on marriage.
And then we're having a very special guest join us. Nisi Ogulu is going to join us via Skype for a chat. Alrighty then, I just wanted to say that there are quite a few things, of course, happening all around the world.
Yeah.
This issue of Black Lives Matter, we've not really been able to talk.
We haven't touched on it
At all.
in detail, So most people know the story now.
That
George Floyd was the guy, and this just happened.
Was a victim.
This just happened less than 2 weeks ago, where he was supposed to be under arrest, and then the policeman put his knee on his neck for 8 whole minutes.
8 minutes.
For 8 minutes.
Kneeling on another human's neck.
Another human being just like you.
Yeah.
And of course, the autopsy report showed that it was actually that
action. Yeah.
that action that made him lose his life. He died while the knee was on his neck of asphyxiation, which is lack of oxygen to the brain. So even though initially they were saying that he had some pre-existing conditions, even if he had a pre-existing condition, that somebody is going to die doesn't mean that you should hasten hasten their death. Somebody has a heart condition doesn't mean you should push him in front of a moving bus.
And even if any person, whether they had a heart condition or not, being suffocated for 8 minutes is enough to put someone out. When I say put
him out. No, I mean, if you hold someone down for 1 minute and 30 seconds, they're going to be out.
Yeah.
So by 3 minutes, without oxygen to the brain, you're already doing permanent damage.
Brain
not
damage.
Of 8 minutes.
Yeah.
So people observing that were recording, by the time it was 3.5 minutes, they noted that he had stopped moving at 3.5 minutes. But the officer still had his knee on his neck for another 5 minutes.
It's still beyond belief in many cases. Unless you watch the video before you can understand that people around this officer were constantly yelling and berating at him, berating him to stop what he was doing and actually get medical attention for this man. And he just refused.
Some of them started saying he's not moving. After like 4 minutes, they said this guy is not moving. Why don't you do something about it? This was, so it wasn't until it was 5 or 6 minutes that they then called paramedics. When paramedics arrived and they touched him, he had no pulse.
So
he had
this
no
is,
balls, you know.
This
so
is, I think it's probably, so the anger, especially in the U.S., a lot of people, both black, white, Asian, Latino, all of them are taking to the streets and, you know, protesting this, you know, what happened. Fine, I do believe that the man has been charged with murder. The police officer has been charged with murder.
yeah, well, third-degree manslaughter. So
yeah.
it's the,
but it's in the end, is it enough to just because it's happened over and over and over and over again, and the anger out there is it feels like the anger is more than justified at this point. But what is it that people need to do to make sure that this doesn't happen again, or at least the number of cases could drastically reduce?
it's something that they have to do as a nation. And it's unfortunate that at this time, I'm not sure that there is leadership in that area. Let me not say there's no leadership in the US. There's no leadership in that area that is really, really handling issues, things to do with racism. If they have somebody to coalesce around that can lead the charge, then it makes it easier to do. But right now, man, it's systemic. It's in the system. It's part of their upbringing.
Their culture.
Yeah,
they even advise all they start advising their sons from age 9 or 10 what to do when they see a police officer coming, and that is one of the scariest thoughts ever. You know, you're not saying don't pick up a gun. You're not saying, you know, you're saying what to do when a police officer that's supposed to protect you actually comes close by. Well, with that, we have to take the news update, and Ibrahim is standing by.
Well, welcome to the news. The Nigeria Center for Disease Control reported 241 new cases of coronavirus overnight, taking the country's total to 10,819. Of the 241 new cases, Lagos recorded the highest number with 142 cases, followed by Oyo with 15. Abuja has 13, Kano 12, Edo 11, Delta 10. Kaduna and Rivers states have 9 cases each. Borno 8, Jigawa 4, Gombe 3, Plateau 3, Osun and Bauchi have 1 each. So far, 3,239 people have been discharged and 314 people have died from COVID-19 related complications. As national outrage continues over the rape and gruesome murder of 22-year-old undergraduate Uwaila Omozua, the Inspector General of Police, Mohammed Adamu, has ordered the immediate transfer of the ongoing investigations into the case from the police headquarters, Benin, to the force headquarters, Abuja. Deputy Inspector General in charge of the Force Criminal Investigation Department, Anthony Ogbizi Michael, will now be in charge of the case. Mr. Adamu also ordered the immediate deployment of specialized investigators and additional investigation assets to all the gender desks, offices, and the juvenile welfare centers across the country. He called on members of the public to provide the police with useful information that could aid investigations into ongoing cases of sexual assault and domestic gender-based violence. And President Muhammad Buhari has offered his deepest condolences to the family and friends of Uwaila Omozua. President Buhari urged the police to speedily investigate the case and ensure that the culprits are made to face the full wrath of the law. And while the country is yet to come to terms with the rape and murder of Uwaila, a video shared by yet to be identified lady of courage is causing outrage. The video that has now gone viral shows the lady in a moving commercial vehicle with a male passenger beside her sexually assaulting her. The elderly man is seen caressing her thighs, and the lady was bold enough to film the act. This has intensified calls for governments across all levels to act as the female gender in Nigeria no longer feel safe. Nigeria has recorded a spike in cases of domestic violence since a lockdown imposed on cities to curb the spread of the coronavirus. This is because the restrictions forced vulnerable persons to stay more with their attackers. In Lagos alone, there was a 60% increase in domestic violence, according to the state's domestic and gender violence response team during the peak of the lockdown. Nigeria may be heading for a recession this year, as indications with a deficit financing of its revised 10.509 trillion naira 2020 budget rises to 4.563 trillion naira from 1.847 trillion earlier projected. In separate presentations made by heads of the revenue-generating agencies led by the Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed, before Senate Committee on Finance, earlier targeted revenues from all the relevant agencies have been drastically slashed in the new proposals. Besides, 77% of the newly proposed revenues from the various sources like the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, Federal Inland Revenue Service, Nigerian Customs Service is for debt servicing. The minister, in her response to a question on the likelihood of recession, said the global economy is predicted to be slipping into recession. What Nigeria can do is to minimize the extent of the looming recession. And quickly outside Nigeria, as protest over the killing of George Floyd continues, the Minnesota Department of Human Rights says it will launch an investigation into the Minneapolis Police Department. This follows the filing of a civil rights charge related to the death of Mr. Floyd, the unarmed black man who died in police custody last week. The probe announced by Governor Tim Walz will look at Minneapolis police policies and procedures over the past 10 years to determine whether the department is engaged in discriminatory practices toward people of color. Human Rights Commissioner Rebecca Lucero will lead the investigation. The move is the first time the Human Rights Department has launched a systemic investigation into the largest police department in the state. The state is also seeking an agreement with the city's police department to implement immediate measures to address systemic issues of racial discrimination. And as the news today on Wake Up Niger.
Welcome back. We have relationship talk this Wednesday morning. And we have teacher, trainer, and educator Toju Oluwatoyinbo, who has added value to hundreds in different institutions, including facilitating life skill sessions for the team program by the Prince's Trust in the United Kingdom. She's joining us to talk about a very important topic, which is the effect of children on marriage. So talk to us, Toju. Welcome to the show.
Hi, good morning. Thanks for having me.
Is this your first time on Wake Up Nigeria?
It is.
Oh, wow. Welcome.
I'm ringing bells in my head.
Yeah. Excellent. Excellent. We usually have Damilola on the show, so it's also good to have you join us today.
Thank you for having me.
All right. So the effect of children on the marriage. For those of us that are married, it's a different effect for men and women. For women, sometimes they have a different set of challenges once they've had a baby, and then for the guy, they have their own personal issues as well. But could you talk to us about the good and the bad effects of children on marriage? Let's start with the good.
Okay. So children are generally a blessing. I mean, you're a young couple, you've got married. If you're anything like me, your first baby is coming. And months before the baby comes, you've bought things that you might not even use. My husband still accuses me today of spending his money and not using some of the stuff. So it's really exciting. It's joyful. You find how people come together, community comes together, family comes together, your institution of faith comes together to support you at that type of time. So there's really a lot of love in it. It's also really great to see that you and your spouse could come together to give birth to an offspring, someone you've trained, someone you love. You see bits and pieces of you in the child, either the way the child walks, the way the child laughs, the way the child speaks. And it's just really fascinating and interesting. And this is someone that is now your responsibility to groom and grow. So that is scary, but it's also good at the same time. So I think those are some of the good things about it. The fact that you and your spouse could come together to create, quote unquote, an offspring that you can see yourself in and actually have the joy of seeing growing up. And the support that comes, especially at the time the child is born. Half of the things I had, or more than half of the things I had with my first son especially, didn't come from my pocket at all. So that was good.
So talk to us. I know that sometimes it can also be pretty challenging, and parents, when they face challenges and pressures of parenthood, might lose sight of some of the good things that comes with having children. Now, these challenges start with distance between husband and wife that happens, especially in the early stages when they have their first child. Suddenly, mommy is focusing on this little bundle of joy, and daddy's playing second fiddle, or he's just not in the picture at all for a few months. How should daddy respond in this kind of situation, especially if it's a first child? And also, what should mommy know that daddy is losing from her focus or from her 100% attention on this little child?
Okay, I think, first of all, the challenge comes, generally speaking, from underestimating on both sides, really, mommy and daddy, the challenges that could come with having a child. So if you're young and married, you're more excited often than not on the arrival of the child. And so you underestimate how challenging it can be, because everyone has told you babies are so cute, babies are so cuddly, you're looking forward to buying clothes and all of those things, and you don't realize how much pressure it is. A lot of women don't realize how much you can go into baby blues or have postpartum depression even after having a child. So I think the first thing to do is not to underestimate and to do what my husband calls pre-decisions, and to take parenting courses together, take child raising courses together, plan and preempt together before that time. So you also make that pre-decision and try to keep things as normal as possible if you can. You can't do a lot of things, but you need to keep a few things as normal as you can. Once a week date night, if you still can, eat together. I really believe that you should get help. When I had my first child, I felt like a superwoman initially. I felt, oh, I didn't need my mom to stay for a long time. Oh, I could do this all by myself. But I think that we really need to get help. A woman needs to understand that even though the focus can change, and I made that mistake myself, I felt my husband is grown. You can take care of yourself. You can make your meals. This child is little. This child is dependent on me. And so while I knew I loved my husband,
yeah,
I also deprived my husband of my time. So I think you need to have a pre-decision and discussion that this is what we are going to do when the baby comes. This is what we are going to do at the time that the baby comes. Get help, mother-in-law, grandma, and nannies, if possible, to relieve you of the time, because taking care of a baby can be a full-time job. And daddy also needs to speak. Sometimes some daddies don't speak. You muster it all up, and then we don't know how you're feeling. We think, oh, you're fine, you're good, you're the big man, and then we don't really know how you feel. So I think it's very important for couples to also talk about these things as much as possible.
Yeah, very, very, very true. So there's something you mentioned which I want to go back to briefly, which is attending parenting courses together. That usually doesn't happen so much in this part of the world. When it's whether it's going for prenatal classes even before you have the child. I heard that couples do that nowadays. Yes. I didn't do it. I know that I didn't. And then after having the baby, going to parenting classes together. Can you give us some insight into some of the things that might occur in a parenting class, especially when dealing with your children, and how that affects your marriage?
Yeah, I think the prenatal classes you mentioned are very important. It shouldn't just be seen as a mom's thing. I think there's this perception that because the mom is the one who's giving birth to the child, then she is the one majorly in charge. And while I do understand that mothers are naturally more nurturing, generally speaking, and children generally gravitate towards mommies, at least at a certain point in their lives or for a long time, it's co-parenting. You're together in this. So for antenatal classes, I remember my husband going with me for most of my antenatal classes, except you really had to be out of the country, out of the state. It's important that you go for prenatal classes. There they teach you so many things: how to take care of the baby, how to change diapers, how to carry, how to feed. And it's really supporting when you're not doing this alone. When the woman feels alone, she begins to feel overwhelmed. And people come with their unsolicited advice. I'm so sorry to say. I know it's out from a place of love, really. But they cover the baby's head like this, carry the babies like this. This baby wants breast. This baby is crying. This baby is crying. Don't you know why the baby is crying? It's a little overwhelming for us. But when we have our husbands there and we're going through these classes together, so we can talk about it, we can make a decision about how we're going to raise our own child. Because really and truly, like my mentor has taught me, we are the best parents for our children. So daddies really need to come to these classes with us. as much as possible. And even after the child has been born, we still have postnatal classes. And I know a lot of hospitals do that. Yeah, at least the hospital I went to do that, and I did that, and I know a lot of hospitals do that. So it's very important that we go there, because there are some things that I might not even think about.
Yeah.
Sometimes parenting isn't just doesn't come to us just naturally. I remember the first couple of months I had my child. There's this feeling that once you have your child, you watch it in the movies, you just fall absolutely in love with your child, and I get that. But I didn't fall absolutely in love with my first child. At that point, I'm like, oh my God, I have a little human in my
It's
house. What am I
huge
going to do?
responsibility.
Yes, I'm used to just being with my husband, getting up and going wherever I want to go, when I want to go, how I want to go, and just being with my husband. And here's this little tiny creature who's come to interrupt my love life with my husband. And you're crying constantly. I remember a time I breastfed from 12 midnight to 6 a.m. On
Oh
and
my
off, on and
goodness.
off, on and off. I'm telling you, I was drained, I was tired, I couldn't believe what was happening to me. So all that feeling of once you have your child, you forget all the pain and all the love comes. It really didn't happen to me. And we need to understand that that's okay too, right? But obviously, I knew I loved my child. We don't, I mean, base our decisions in life just on feelings.
So talk to us, as we begin to round off now, Toju. So let's say you've had this child. I know we've focused a lot on the early stages of having a child and how it affects marriage. So as the child grows, what are the things, the positive things that can help strengthen the marriage when there's a child around? I know you've talked about the fact that you see yourself in a child and that gives you joy. Are there other things that you can do together as a family that involves a child that also helps to strengthen the bond between husband and wife?
Okay, I think first of all, we need to realize that this time, raising the children at a little age, which is a little more difficult, won't last forever. So we need to give it the best that we can and remember that going forward. Like I said earlier, get all the help that you can get. Mommies and daddies need to talk, and remember that your spouse is your first priority. While the children are there and you love them and they're growing and all, your spouse is your first responsibility. And especially when it comes to intimacy, and I know that's a major deal, especially for the guys, women need to know that, yeah, you're hurting, you need 6 weeks of healing and all of that. But your priority is your husband, and you need to find ways to get back in bed, get back in love, and get back intimate with your husband as soon as possible. I'm very fine with sending my children to grandma as often as possible, so I have time with my husband alone. And then we do things together even as a family. Family outings are not out of it at all, especially, well, during the weekends, when we're all free. We go out together, we hang out together. We're very involved in school. Now that school is online, we have no choice but to be in class with them. And that's really good, seeing them grow, teaching them, grooming them, and learning with them. So I think when we have family time, but also know that mommy and daddy time is even more important, that helps foster the bond and growth.
Excellent, excellent. I mean, I'm liking this discussion that we're having. And what you said earlier about your husband going with you to prenatal classes is strange to me, because I remember I tried to do something like that once with my third child, and I ended up being the only daddy there, and I just looked like a woman rapper, and I didn't quite like it. So, yeah, so it's easy to understand why you said your husband is a man beyond your dreams, which is what you said in your profile.
Yes. I mean, it doesn't make him any less of a man at all. In fact, I think my husband is a man's man and a man's leader. So I think just supporting me the way he is done shows how much of a man he is. Because I mean, having a man who is so protective and so loving makes me really feel comfortable and happy. And I'm the better for it, and everyone can see that. So why not?
Oh, wow. Toji Oluwatoyinbo there. Thank you so much for joining us on the show today. And I'm sure that a number of parents have learned a thing or two from our discussion this morning about children. They're a heritage of the Lord, as it were. Anyway, we're going to take a quick break now and be back with the rest of the show. Welcome back. We're going to be joined by our last guest this morning as the show gets ready to close.
Yeah, we are going to be joined by Nisi Ogulu on Skype. Now, she's a London-based Nigerian singer, songwriter, and painter. Here's a fun fact about this talented singer. She is sister to the African giant himself, Burna Boy. She's joined us on the show today to share the common challenges faced by artists in the diaspora and, of course, some of her wins. Hello, Nisi, are you there?
Hello, I'm here.
Hi.
Hi, Nisi. Good to have you join us this morning.
Good morning.
Hi, guys. Thank you. Good morning.
Yeah.
All right.
So I know it's been a long period, almost 3 months now that the coronavirus pandemic has been on, with lockdowns all around the world. How has this affected you?
I think it forces you to think of new ways to stay creative, and to be honest, the work just piles up, to be fair. So I think in that way, it just forced me to sit down, be still, think of new ways to create, and do business, really.
All right. So I read part of your profile saying that you play quite a number of instruments. I have a feeling they've been keeping you company during the lockdown. Tell us about some of the instruments you play.
So I play the piano and a little bit of the guitar. So I started playing the piano when I was about 5, but I would say I'm still beginner level on the guitar, because I've seen a lot of great guitarists and I wouldn't want to say I'm on their level.
Modest too, huh?
Yeah, quite modest. So now you have your music is a mixture of different genres, a little bit of R&B, some funk in there, a little bit of Afrobeat as well. What are your biggest influences in music, local and international?
It will go back to where I started, which was highly influenced by my granddad, who wanted me to really, first of all, tackle and master jazz and blues. So I would say my big influences were Etta James, Amy Winehouse, Alicia Keys, Asha, Fela Kuti, of course.
Yeah.
Those were the real people that were constantly playing in my head and around me.
So who exposed you to all these greats? Etta James is not an artist that just comes off a shelf, you know. Someone must have introduced you to all these amazing artists.
Yeah, my granddad, he was very big on me, you know, listening to old music, the blues, the jazz, Nina Simone, Frank Sinatra. He kind of made sure that I understood the dynamics of music before I actually started to create my own genre.
Great.
All of this is really important. Of course, you know that we can't round off this interview without mentioning the African giant himself and your relationship with him as his sister. Are you connected in any way musically to your brother, or do you do completely different? Are you on completely different tracks, if you know what I mean?
I think unconsciously we are connected, because whether we like it or not, we had similar musical upbringings, because it's both my granddad. For both of us, it was still my granddad who was one of the biggest influences. So, but in our creative process, we're very different people, and we do our own thing completely. We haven't ever mixed yet.
I wonder, you know, I know that expression for an artist comes in different forms, and is even noted in your profile that you're a visual artist as well, right? You're a painter?
Yes, so I paint, and then I also have an animation.
All right. So, you know, it's really interesting when you have an elder sibling or, you know, a family member in the limelight. You've seen how much the limelight has, you know, affected positively and probably even negatively your brother. Do you have any worries or doubts about how you're going to handle it when you eventually become a big star?
Most definitely. But with seeing all those things, it kind of prepares you for what could potentially happen. And it's more bad than good most of the time. So you kind of have to prepare yourself for what's happening. I can only mentally prepare. I can't. I've accepted the fact that I can't put myself in that situation until but it's always good to be surrounded by people who have been through it.
Yeah. All right. So let's dive into. I mean, we don't have that much time left. We also want to feel a little bit of your music.
Yeah.
But let's talk about what's going to be happening for the rest of the year. I know that you would have had your plans, putting out new music and stuff like that. We've got 7 months left till the end of 2020. So talk to us about what we should expect from Nisi.
Yeah, 2020 is definitely not cancelled. So 19th of June, I have a 7-track EP coming out, which is only me. There's no features, just people to have a snack and a little peephole into who Nisi is as a musician. Yes, 19th of June, we have a project coming out.
Right.
All right.
Right.
A
So
7-track EP.
Later this month, yeah.
Nice, nice. No pressure, you know, everybody is looking forward to hearing it. No pressure at all. You know. So we'll be looking out for that.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're going to feel a little bit of your music now, and then we'll come back to round off.
All right. So it's really interesting. It's like a nice blend.
A nice blend for someone based in the UK. This is a very Nigerian Nigerian video. I don't know if Nisi can still hear us. We wanted to also find out as we're rounding off. Is it a big challenge speaking to, on the one hand, an international audience with your music, and then a Nigerian audience as well, since this is where your roots are?
It's not a challenge, I wouldn't say, because I'm a sponge. I always kind of soak up sometimes too much of where I am and my culture, which I did from Nigeria, African countries, and being here in the UK as well. So it's all part of who I am. So I say it's a big challenge.
All right. So it's obviously been really amazing talking to you. I want to ask the question, if, for instance, you didn't go into music, what else would you be doing? I'm talking about in terms of... Are you saying you would go into engineering?
Would you have done your engineering, since you have a degree in that?
I think it's all things I'm actually doing now. I'm actually still engineering, so I'm still project managing and designing cars at the moment as we speak, as having a music career.
Did you say designing cars?
To do that for... Yes.
Designing cars, amazing.
That's amazing.
Automotive engineering, interesting. All right then.
Interesting. Well, thank you so much, Nisi, for joining us on the show today. We'll be looking out for the EP when it comes out, and put it on our playlist as well.
All right then.
Fantastic. Thank you, guys. Have a good day.
You too. It was nice to meet her, actually.
Yeah.
But that's an interesting combination.
And she looks she sounds chill.
Very chilled. She's, prepared for interviews. and once that EP comes out, it's gonna really push her out there.
Exactly.
And then you'll be able to feel her music more. But then I love the fact that, the family introduced her to music.
Right.
The
from an early stage, which is quite.
Etta James, she said. It's one thing for us to enjoy things on our own, but then bringing your family into it is really key. But then again, we have so many great people pop into the studio with us all the time.
Hopefully we're going to be having a number of physical guests join us on the show. It's been a while. So throughout the month of April, we didn't have any physical guests on the couch. And then throughout the month of May as well.
Yes.
So we've tried.
Yeah, we have.
We've done pretty well. We've done pretty well with technology, and that's really been helpful for us.
So imagine we used to have at least 7 extra people join us in the studio
every single day.
Every single day, from the fitness instructors to the chefs to the experts, guests, performers.
Yeah.
And we're looking forward to all of them coming back in.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
And thanks to all the guys who make this happen on a daily basis, all the behind-the-scenes people, the people in tech and technical units, and all of that, and the producers as well.
course.
And the directors talking in our ears. Well done.
And the camera crew.
Well done, guys.
The camera crew have been, making sure they get here on time as well. Big shout out to all of them. We appreciate you all. And
our guests for joining us on the show today.
We have to wrap up now. But we'll be back 6 a.m. tomorrow once again on Wake Up Nigeria. Bye.